we do not live to ourselves. And we do not die to ourselves. If we live to the Lord. And if we die to the Lord. So then whether we live or whether we die, we belong to the Lord. This is our great hope today. This is our blessed assurance from the book of Romans. And we're gathered today to celebrate the life of Eleanor Lavonne Landman, who was born on December 9 of 1924 and entered into glory on April 14 of 2025. We can rest today, right now, in peace, knowing that the life she lived was not her own. And because her life was held in the palm of God's hand, we can rest knowing that the death she died was also in God's hand as well. Never once was Lavonne forgotten by God. Never once was she abandoned or forsaken by him either. Not even for a moment. Not in the good days, not in the bad days either. Lavonne was always near to the heart of God. I've been asked by the family if I would take a moment to read the obituary. This is also printed in the bulletin here with this lovely picture of Lavonne beaming, radiant with happiness, because she's about to pound 4 pieces of cake. So, I'm glad that we can laugh today and remember her with happiness. But just to remember her, Eleanor Lavonne's 100-year life story began on December 9, 1924. Her parents, Jerry and Ruth, held me to Stroete. I would not have guessed that. To Stroete, Raak, raised her in Hospers, where she later graduated from high school. Lavonne, the name she went by since grade school, met her future husband, Richard Landman, during high school, where she was the team cheerleader and he was the star basketball player. After graduation, Rich went off to the service and Lavonne worked as a switchboard operator in the Raak family telephone business. She loved telling stories of the pranks played over the phone. Something to do with Prince William in a can, perhaps? When Rich returned from the service, they were married on January 16 of 1946. They raised 4 children, Larry, Amy, Paul, and Phil, on the family farm near Doon. This city girl turned dedicated farm wife loved the outdoors and her kitchen. Lavonne was well known for her award-winning sour cream raisin pies. Lavonne never passed up an opportunity for a competitive contest. And let me tell you, folks, of all the times that I would visit her, and we would talk about the things of life, I never once played a game with her. But I could tell. She would stare at me over those glasses, stare right through my soul. I said, this is not somebody I would want to mess with. She enjoyed playing cards, fishing, golf, pool, and bowling. Rich and Lavonne also spent many hours of enjoyment watching their children and grandchildren using their God-given talents. Most importantly, Lavonne will be remembered for her unwavering love for the Lord. Her legacy as a believer, her faithfulness to worship, and her joy in sharing love with others will carry over to the next generation. I was informed by family members that I had a unique gift to offer Lavonne. From time to time, she would fall asleep during sermons while watching me at Aspen Heights. What can I say? I'm #blessed. Left to cherish her memory are her 4 children and their spouses, Larry and Marvella Landman of Sioux Center, Amy and Daryl Gruters of Ames, Paul and Marty Landman of Gulf Shores, Alabama, and Phil and Linda Landman of Hull. She is also survived by 10 grandchildren, and get this, 20 great-grandchildren, and several nieces and nephews. Upon reaching the age of 100, she was preceded in death by her parents, siblings, and in-laws. Most notably, she was preceded in death by her son, Lyle Dean Landman, and 2 great-grandchildren, Cale Richard Gruters and Selah Landman. I'd like to invite Sandy Fick to come forward to share some memories about Lavonne.
100 years. Wow. Incredible. But I only knew Lavonne for 10 of those incredible 100 years. To be honest, I only knew the name Lavonne Landman, or Rich and Lavonne Landman, through my Uncle Lloyd and Aunt Darlene Welber, who were very good friends with them. So when she came to Aspen Heights, that was our connection. But that connection became even deeper with not only me, but several of our staff members. How could you not help but love Lavonne? Early on, we tried to visit with our new tenants, and early on I kind of sensed that she was going to be active. Her age did not indicate what her abilities were. So the first thing that they were invited to do was exercise. And at the time when Lavonne moved in, she was not using a walker. And so she would come down the hall, and we had railings, and she would do her exercises along the railings, and she was diligent. She never, ever missed. She was willing to learn new games. She, however, was not a fan of crafts, which we learned early on. And she enjoyed eating meals in the dining room, sharing time with the friends, who actually were friends that she knew growing up and in her lifetime. And we likened it many times, when it was a transition that was tough for people to come to Aspen Heights, we'd like to compare it to their grandchildren who were going off to college, and they moved into a dormitory, and they made new friends. Well, you're just doing this a little bit later. You're moving to another place, you're making new friends, and she indeed was a friend to many. She never complained a lot. And I will tell you this, that our tenants all wore beepers, or were supposed to wear beepers. If they needed assistance, they would push her button. I don't think Lavonne hardly ever used that. So when the beeper went, everybody moved because it was something important and serious. Lavonne's love for the outdoors became very apparent when we would reminisce about things that they had done in their lifetime. And I need to tell all of you, there was no greater history lesson than learning from our tenants at Aspen Heights. They are a fountain of information. They have seen hardships. They have seen joy. They have lived lives. And that's a takeaway. Live our lives to our fullest. Enjoy. Take time. And then, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, listen. Listen to what they are telling you. Listen to what they are teaching you. So many things that we can learn. So, one of our favorite things was going for van rides. And we had a cargo van that we had to get people into, and so it was walkers. If we were not going to stop anywhere, we could limit the number of walkers we took. Oak Grove was a favorite place to go, so I could hear some fishing stories, and I'm not sure the family could confirm this, loved to fish, but I don't recall her being a fan of eating fish at all. So she didn't like fish, but she liked to go fishing. And then we went to Orange City to see the tulips. We drove in the country. We drove, farming was near and dear to her, so she could always observe where we were in the crop season, how high the corn was. And we had some rather tragic things that happened in our communities, flooding, train derailments, and so forth. And so we, of course, had to go check all of those things out. Now I'm going to dwell just a bit on what Reverend Vanderstoep touched on, and that was her competitiveness. She was always up for a game, but loved to compete. Probably two of my favorite stories was Wii bowling, and I know we're kind of past Wii bowling, but Lavonne thought that Wii bowling would be worth a try, and so she and several other of our tenants decided to try it. But there were 3 tenants that really enjoyed this, and so we would do it as an activity, but it got to be a request on the days that I would be there. Could you make sure the Wii bowling is set up? Because we're scheduled to bowl tonight after supper. So I was happy to do that. And I think the staff all could kind of pick up on some of the camaraderie and competitiveness of some of our tenants. Anyway, I was amused the day I came to put everything away after they had been bowling to find a small notebook with all the scores recorded for every person. So that was just fun to see that at how many years old they were out there fiercely competing with one another. And kids, I challenge all of you to a game of cornhole with your grandma or great-grandma. She was good, and she had a knack for it, and as you know, her hands were not always in the best of condition to do that, but it didn't deter her. She kept right on competing. Moving to Aspen Heights for anyone, you have a new family, and she embraced that opportunity, and everyone became a family. A little aside, as you know, when you're in a facility or a hospital, we have HIPAA rules. And so there was always, if an ambulance would come or if someone would not be present for a little while, there was great concern about what was going on. Well, if we're one family, how come we can't know what's going on specifically? And so we have to carefully address that. And so my response would be, if we're one family, we need to pray and trust God, and that should be all we need to worry about at this time. And it was met with a little bit of not so happy, but they understood that, yes, we are a family, but sometimes we just don't get all the details. Technology, I touched on iPad. Oh, yes. Few times I had to come in and do a little technical work on her iPad, but I know that there was a lot of solitaire and a lot of games played on her iPad, and then there was communication between other tenants about what apps they had on their iPads and which apps worked well. So that was another thing. And the other thing that Lavonne was so faithful, playing bells. And she enjoyed it. And it was a challenge because even after she had her surgery, gripping the bells, we had wrap that we put on the bells. And most recently, as a matter of fact, in March, she said, I think I can still do this. I have gripper gloves somewhere, and I think if I get my gripper gloves, I think I can do this. So she was faithful till the end on playing the bells, and that was a big deal. Again, all of these things were with others, sharing with others. Ladder golf, outdoor activities. She was all about anything outdoors. And I just came across, ironically, after Amy spoke to me about talking today, AI, or Big Brother, is a little scary because my iPad popped up 10 pictures of Lavonne the day Amy called me. And one of the pictures was a picture with Lavonne and a board that said something that they did, and it said, I always make sour cream raisin pie for my grandkids. And so while she did not get the opportunity to bake and cook, she definitely enjoyed the food that was prepared there. What she liked, one of her favorites was biscuits and gravy in the morning. And she looked forward to those days. Now, kids and grandkids, I don't know all of you by name, but I know all your faces. I saw them on her little screen in her room, and she would tell me when there were new pictures or new events, or Thanksgiving, always a favorite time. We could relive all the memories of that time that she spent, and then more recently, reaching that goal of 100. It never was really a goal as such until it got to be close. Well, if I've made it this far, she would sometimes say, I go to bed at night and, I just tell the Lord, I'm ready. Well, I woke up. Here I am, and I'm going to make the best of it that I can. And she did. She made the best of every day. She had a way of touching others, letting them know that she cared. She was not one to do a lot of complaining, not a lot of gossiping, but always tried to find the best in others. And I challenge everybody, whatever you remember of Lavonne, whatever you admired about Lavonne, let that be a goal you strive to do in your life. Whatever that thing was that really impacted you, try to strive to be that kind of a person. Lavonne made the best of every situation. Something to take to heart. Well done, good and faithful servant.
Thank you, Sandy. Does anybody know what the secret is for living to be 100 years old?
Not eating vegetables.
Milo, don't listen to that.
Not eating vegetables. All right. How do folks like Lavonne do it? I mean, I'm genuinely curious. After they pass around the sun for the 100th time, right? In recent years, increasing numbers of articles, podcasts, interviews have been generated online. I've tried to focus with laser accuracy on this exact issue. What is the secret for living such a long life? Of course, wisdom adds up very quickly, right? If you interview 10 people who have lived to be 100 years or older, quickly you find yourself swimming in half a millennia of wisdom. It's quite something, right? Of all the research I've done in the past week, I've found so many, I think, reasonable and yet profound answers to the question. It's, I think, fascinating stuff. Some answers are things I would expect to hear from people who've managed to live through the Great Depression, World War II, the vast expansion and transformation of life here on Earth, like Lavonne did. Some wisdom that I heard: choose the right life partner. Marry the man or woman that you're willing to suffer with, suffer for, and suffer because of. Be able to laugh your way through life. It's just better that way. Try to get through each day without hurting anyone. Read every day because it's good for your mind. Accept changes in life as they come. It's all part of life's journey. Eat sensibly. Apparently forego the vegetables. Take up a hobby. Live an interesting life. Dance when no one is looking, and especially when they are. Work towards forgiveness. Keep your temper in check. Then, of course, there are a few who have grown old and wise because they were first young and wild and crazy. Their advice sounds something a little bit different. Here's a few bits of wisdom that I heard. A daily swig of whiskey. Apparently that's what does it. Another lady who lived to be over 100 years old, her secret to a long life: a daily Dr. Pepper. Another person said, eat as much McDonald's as possible. You like McDonald's? He's going to live a long life. That was great. That made my whole day right now. The truth is, people in this world are really, really obsessed with the secret of longevity. What are the right exercises, the stretches, the daily habits, the daily routines? But of all of the obsession that people have about longevity, no one really asks the question underneath. The real questions about what makes life worth living. Why should anyone want to live as many years as possible? How can we be sure that this life has any value at all? Yeah, I'm all on board. Let's live to be 100 years old. That's really cool what Lavonne did. I've got no problem with that. But why should we want to squeeze as many years into this life as possible? Why should we want to do that? Turn to your neighbor. I do this all the time at our worship service. Turn to your neighbor. Why should we want to live as long as possible? Go for it. Anybody got any feedback? Why should we want to live as long as possible? There's no right or wrong answers.
Glorify God.
To glorify God. To eat as many Big Macs as possible. What else? What did you say? I'm curious. This is part of our daily struggle. Why? Why should we want to keep living? What makes life worth living? The good news for us today, the good news that Lavonne believed in her heart of hearts, is that there is more to this life than we are currently living. There is life after death. And the art and the science of obtaining a long life might be shrouded in secrecy for the rest of us, and we just have to page through endless pages on Google to try and figure out what that answer is. But there is no secrecy about how to live life everlasting. Isn't that something? The grace of Jesus has made that known to us. Remember these words from Psalm 23 about the kind of God Lavonne trusted in. I'll read it from the King James Version. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. There is no secret to everlasting life with God. The kind of life is what makes life worth living. That kind of life, it comes from trusting in God. Because God is a good shepherd. The shepherd who takes care of us. The shepherd who protects us, who provides for us, who prods us along life's weary way when we become too wayward. Who watches over us so securely that we really don't need to fear any evil. It's not something we have to do anymore. Isn't that something? Life is worth living right now because of who God is. God is the Good Shepherd. He's promised to guide us and usher us along the mountain peaks of life and through every valley in between. Because this is who God is, this is how God treats us, it's okay to want to live as many years as possible. The reality of God sets us free to live and to live abundantly. It's all a way of preparing for what comes next. This life right here, today, April 17, is worth living because of what God has done. God has claimed us. God has named us, all for his own. And I'm not just talking about the biological reality of life, of living 100 years. The Bible reveals this teaching from Jesus that he came to give us life, but like abundant life. The Greek word bios is not used when Jesus says that. It's zoe, or if you know somebody named Zoe, it's the Greek word meaning vibrant, radiant, glowing with vigor, excitement for life. That's what Jesus came to give and offer us. Fullness of years and fullness of meaning, treasured value and hope. And when this life is over, God's providential care, it just doesn't come to an end. The Gospel of John tells us what Jesus is really up to. He was comforting his disciples when he spoke these words to his followers. Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house, there are many rooms. If that weren't so, would I have told you that I'm going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. What makes life worth living? It's who God is. It's the fact that we're named and claimed, and that there's more to life than what we can currently see. This is the good news. In a few days, we will celebrate the gift of the resurrection, this great victory of Jesus over the grave. So I'd like to invite us to sing this awesome hymn that was apparently Lavonne's top favorite. It's printed on the back of your bulletin. I'm going to start, hopefully, in the right key. And then we're all going to sing this because there is victory in Jesus. That victory is available for us today. Wouldn't it be something if it were true that God really loved us that way? How would that change the way we live now? Yeah, if you need an extra a bulletin, does anybody else need a folder, a worship folder? Me. Someone said me. All right. Let's stand to sing this. That would be great. All right, folks, here we go. I heard an old story, how a Savior came from glory, how he gave his life on Calvary to save a wretch like me. And I heard about his groaning, of his precious blood's atoning. Then I repented of my sins and won the victory. Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior forever. He sought me and bought me with his redeeming blood. He loved me ere I knew him, and all my love is due him. He plunged me to victory beneath the cleansing flood. I heard about a mansion he has built for me in glory, and I heard about the streets of gold beyond the crystal sea, about the angels singing and the old redemption story. And some sweet day I'll sing up there just a minute, the funeral directors will come forward and offer announcements about how we will make our recessional. But I would like you to take this benediction and tuck it into your hearts. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace, now and forever. Amen. You may remain standing as the funeral director comes forward.